Hello, class. I wanted to go over a couple of things that I had seen in this past critique with some of the students, wondering some things, asking me questions, struggling with certain areas. So what I'm going to do throughout the course is every once in a while I'll do some sort of like a lab help session. So I wanted to go over some of the topics that I had seen. So the first one is to really make sure that your artboard is set up in a certain way. I had it in the lab a couple times, but just to kind of go over it real quick again, make sure that your toolbars are in the advanced section. There is the basic one as well, and you guys might already have it in basic, and this is what it would look like. But try to keep it in the advanced because I'll be going over a couple other areas on the advanced toolbar. Just so you know, you can toggle back and forth if you'd like, but this is what you will be seeing a lot more of in the labs, is that particular type of toolbar. The other thing is to make sure that the right-hand side of your artboard is set up in a similar way to the lab, and that is in the essentials area up here. Again, you're going to see a drop down with some options, and some of you might already have it in the Essentials Classic. I feel that that's what I'm kind of hearing with some of the people. And this is what it would look like, where it's more tabbed on the side like this. Classic meaning it was kind of like what we were doing probably about 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, is this classic look. Now we're more into the essentials area where it has all the tabs being shown, and this is what you're going to be seeing in the labs as well. So again, this is what I'll be having it put on, so just make sure that you can kind of, see it similar to what you see in the labs. Now let's get started on the gradients. I feel like the gradient area is a little on the confusing side. Totally understand. There is a couple steps that kind of is hard to, go over via step by step. So I'm going to show it to you guys here. Just made a square with the rectangle tool. This is the default, where you see it's a fill square of white and it's a stroke of black. I'm going to then flip this. So always put it on the selection tool. Then you're going to click on the shape, and that's what you can always manipulate, right? So I'm going to flip the color, okay, by using that arrow that you saw in the lab. And now it's at a black fill and a white stroke. I'm going to now take this stroke and I'm going to omit it. All right, so now I have a black square, no stroke. So this is what I'm going to now use in order to go ahead and do the gradient. Okay, click on the gradient. Oh, something else to know, and this might be something that's happening to some people, is when you click on the gradient tool and you try to click on the gradient, as you can see, the front and center one in the square is the one that it, for some reason or another, it kind of talks to, if you will. So that's the reason why you might see like oh, you can't do this kind of a situation on your tool for the gradient at this point. So what you're going to do is you're going to then flip the fill stroke square in the front of the stroke that is now omitted. You don't have it anymore. That's going to be in the front. Okay. Now all of a suddenly you have the ability to be able to use the gradient tool. Okay. So make sure that this fill square area is in the front, and then you click and it will give you that default gradient that you see in the lab. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to go ahead and start making colors. I know people are automatically thinking, oh, this is the color area, I can do it here. No, you need to go into the gradient tab, and the gradient tab is here on the bottom area. Okay, so once you go into there, you're going to then see that there is a one side of the spectrum, which in this case is white, and then the other side of the spectrum, which in this case is black. So that is what the gradient is going to look like. So you're going to manipulate both of these colors. Okay, so I'm going to go to this left hand side circle, and I'm going to then double click on it, and it appears the palette area that I can then change the color. You have to first change the mode. So go from what it is grayscale to RGB, and then boom, all of a sudden it hits this nice rainbow color. And I'm gonna just select any old color at this point, okay? Just so you can kind of see. And then it will automatically, once you click out, it'll click off, it'll disappear. And you're gonna do the same on the other side. Double click, bring in the palette, change the mode, and then you're going to change the color. So now you see this multicolor, this nice multicolor gradient. Something else that I kind of wanted to show as well, now that I have you guys, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna make another square. Okay, making another square. And as you can see, it actually also defaults. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to change this out and make this into a solid color. And I'm just gonna do that by, again, now I'm using the color palette area. I'm gonna go ahead and click that and make that into a solid square, okay? So now what I would like to do is I'd like to make another square inside. All right, and this is automatically going to then be a solid green square, as you can see. But it's gonna be inside here, okay? And I'm going to then go ahead and change this into the gradient again. And I'm going to then switch out the colors. Let's go for some red. There we go, 2 different colors so you can really kind of see it. And I'm going to then change one side of the gradient so it's going to disappear, the color's going to disappear. Click on that side, okay? Double click. And see the opacity, how it's at 100 right now? I'm gonna change it to 0. And then click. Now, all of a sudden, one side of your gradient is now disappeared. So you're only seeing the other side of the gradient. I wanna then switch how I want this gradient to, the direction of it. So I'm gonna go into the directional area of the gradients palette, and I'm going to press 90 degrees. Now I've changed the degrees. All right. So here's just a couple little tips on the gradient section that I had talked about in the lab. And just to kind of give you a couple little ideas of what you can do, kind of how you can play around and stuff like that. Hope this helps. And I will make sure to be back another time to give you a couple more tips and tricks in the lab assistance. All right.